Okay, we are back for a new edition of the Missyae show, and tonight's special guest is one of the all-time legends in Survivor, one of my favorite players ever, and most fans agree with that. They seem to love this guy. Coach Wade is here tonight, and we're going to talk about what all happened last night on that crazy edition where the tribe swapped up and it was just a madhouse with people scrambling around. Coach, did you get to see the show last night?
I did indeed. I DVR'd it and watched it quite late after I put my son to bed, and my wife and I watched it, and great episode. Really, I loved it. It just, no matter how many times you watch Survivor, no matter how big or small of a fan you are, it just is so cool when the game is quote-unquote fresh again.
Yeah, it is.
They still come out with great episodes, and you still don't really know what's going to go on. And that's, of course, that's the best taste of Survivor, when you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, they've really, I've been known to be critical when the show needed some criticism, but, right now they're on a roll. I mean, this show is cooking again, and with everything from the cast down to the editing and the players are putting out, it's really fun to watch. It's like you said, it's fresh all over again.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So let's get into some of the stuff that happened last night. I mean, before we even got to this episode, we had a little cop alliance between Tony and Sarah, and a lot of fans and some ex-survivors I've seen on Twitter were very critical of Tony because he made up some lies that some people thought he didn't really have to do that because he already had Sarah in with him, so why do that? What's your take on some of what Tony's done with his lies so far this season?
Mm-hmm. So I think that, you go back to that first time when he was approached. And I really like Tony. I like him as a character. I like the lightheartedness that he's bringing to the game where, he's not, when you look at him, you think, oh, this guy's going to be hardcore. He's going to maybe be like a Russell Hantz. And instead, he's got a really likable personality.
He does. He really does.
And I think that the first time that he was approached, the conversation was, "You're a cop, aren't you?" So it was very much like, boom, put you on the defensive. And out there, you don't really want to be on the defensive.
Right.
If there's a card that you want to keep close to the vest, you don't really want to be called out. And so I feel like he was kind of called out. He said, "Oh no, I'm not a cop." And then she said, "Are you sure? Because I'm a cop too." And I think if she would have come up to him and said, "Hey, I'm a cop. I know you're a cop. Let's stick together." A little bit like, the little Bostonian alliance that's happening. But I think that she kind of maybe approached it wrong, and he took defense, and then he kind of painted himself into a corner.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, well, now what do I do? So I think he did the right thing in finally coming clean, but I think also he's playing the game a little bit too hard, too soon.
Yeah,
and so I'm worried for him. I want him to be there for a long time, but I'm worried for him.
To your point with that, I think most of the fans and even ex-players sort of agreed with what you just said about how he sort of got pushed in the corner about what he did. And they, most people felt like, I can understand why he denied it at first, but then after he opened up and said, who he was and what he did, he even carried it further by making up lies about other players being after Sarah when they weren't after Sarah.
Well, that was kind of that's just, to me, that's too soon to do that. If you are maybe feeling like you're on the outs, I just think he wanted that solidified. He wanted to have that stamp that, she was with him. And
right.
So I see your point. Was it necessary? No. Was it unnecessary? Well, it did lay the initial seeds in Tony's mind.
Right.
And maybe in other people's mind, kind of the trickle-down effect that Cliff had to go. And interestingly enough, when it comes full circle, and now he was approached this last time, well, what about getting, Cliff off? And he balked at first I think that might be, I'm not sure about that. Is that editing? What is that?
Yeah, I think that was a little bit of tricky editing.
Yeah, but it came full circle. So really, him saying that lie and then kind of spawning from that lie, well, let's get Cliff out. Well, it actually came to fruition. So, you might look at it as unnecessary, but a big player's out of the game, and maybe that's necessary.
Right. And the thing with, what we're talking about is maybe a little bit of tricky editing that Tony was kind of debating, do I want to do this to Cliff or not? I mean, it was very simple. He had the choice. He could have went either way. He could have gotten rid of LJ or he could have gotten rid of Cliff, and he chose to get rid of Cliff. Now the question becomes, if he's in an alliance now with Trish, LJ, and Jeffra, where does he stand in that alliance? Isn't he number 4?
That's a good point.
So did he actually make a mistake?
Yep.
Because that was one of the things that was that I noticed last night was you got LJ and Jeffra over there on their own from the Beauty Tribe, and yet neither one of them went after each other. Like on the other tribe, the other Beauty members, Jeremiah, Morgan, and Alexis, they all went after each other, trying to save themselves. Jeffra and LJ never did that. They stuck together, and they figured out a plan. Jeffra made the social connection, and then LJ, he nurtured it, and it worked.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting because they get rid of Jatia, and then, the merge hits, and then it's an oh crap look on their face. Right. It's like, oh, did we do the right thing? And I think that, obviously they did the right thing because they wouldn't have won that challenge. I tweeted earlier today, they wouldn't have won that challenge if Jatia had been with them.
Right.
But it definitely has been proven that, bigger alliances are not always the best alliances, especially if there's divisions within the alliance. And an alliance of 3, when you go in and your number's down, sometimes that's the best thing because you have to stay strong. I mean, look at when Timbira went in with Jalapao and Tocantins. Right. And we had the numbers, Brendan, me, Tyson, Aaron, Debbie, Sierra, and we were picked off one by strong core of 3. Right. So, I mean, when the Brains tribe, we're all on the same tribe, I just thought, well, this is great for them because they've been through a lot. They've bonded more than some of the other tribes that have never even seen tribal council, and here we go. It's going to be, I think, a good threesome.
That is a very good point, Coach, because you can, and it's like the Brains 3 did. They just sort of, they got lucky on the split, and they all stayed together, but it could have backfired on them because there's still 3 from another tribe, and then Sarah is, like she said, the odd person out, but they sat back, and they just let the game come to them, and you had the 3 people from the Beauty Tribe just blowing up.
Yep.
So that small alliance of 3 with Cassandra, Tasha, and Spencer, they are very dangerous in this game right now, don't you think?
I agree 100%.
Yep. Well, what do you think about those 3 Beauty tribe mates, Alexis, Morgan, and Jeremiah, all kind of stabbing each other in the back? Not as much Jeremiah because it sort of ended up with him just trying to defend himself when they came to him with it. But Alexis and Morgan, there's a definite rivalry right there, and one of them's going to have to leave pretty soon, probably.
Yeah, the cattiness of women. I've seen it year after year on my soccer programs. It's just, you can see it coming for whatever reason.
Yeah.
They get catty, and they sometimes create stuff in their mind, areas of dislike.
And that's not being sexist. That's not being sexist. I mean, you see it in the workplace all the time. It's just hard for a bunch of females to work together.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know why, but it is. So what do you think about that? I mean, do you think the if you were in that little brains 3 and you're hearing what Alexis is saying and you're hearing what Morgan's saying and you're hearing what Jeremiah's saying, who are you most likely to keep?
That's a good question. I mean, if you're out there, it's totally different if you're out there than watching on TV.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Jeremiah. He reminds me a little bit
of me.
A little bit of you. Likeable. Everybody likes you.
Yeah, right.
I think a little bit of JT. But, it's a Southern charm. I remember when I moved out to LA. I grew up in Tennessee. I had a Southern accent.
Yeah, and we got to get this plug in real quick. I know you're pulling for the Tennessee Vols in the March Madness tournament. So,
of course, yeah, absolutely. So, I moved out to L.A., and everybody's like, oh, that's a cool accent. I spent my whole time growing up in Tennessee saying that I was from L.A. because that's where my parents were from, and I spent every summer out there. And then when I moved out there, everybody was like, oh, we love that Southern accent. You should, really pour it on because there's trustability in Southern accents for whatever.
I agree with that. I think it is. I think it is.
I like, I like Jeremiah. But I tell you, who would I align with? I'd probably align with Jeremiah and Alexis. I'd try to do something to get everybody cohesive.
Right.
I would have gotten the tribe together.
Well, would you still be thinking in terms of challenges right now, and maybe Jeremiah is more advantageous to your tribe in challenges than Morgan or Alexis?
I think it's always that 50-50 and kind of your instincts when you're out there. You don't want to have somebody that's gunning for you.
Yeah.
You don't want to have somebody that's gunning for you. But at the same time, I feel like in Survivor nowadays, people are thinking, the end game too soon.
I agree.
In terms of getting rid of strong people. You want to win challenges. You want to go numbers up. I would have gotten the tribe together, however split it would have been, and just gotten the old tribe together, Brains, Brawn, Beauty, and just said, hey, we're going to stick together, period. Do not divide. But that's part of the reason, the most underrated part of my game, I think, in Redemption is just having an alliance, preaching to the alliance, keeping them together when they've tried to stray, because you always want to stray, and you always want to see what's on the other side of the fence, to just bring them back.
Right.
Actually say, hey, man, this is what's going to work, and this is what's going to get us in the end of the game.
Well,
I would have done that if I had been out there on this season, just to continue to preach and just say, hey, let's first of all stick with loyalty. At the same time, who cares about Cliff? He's not going to. The most ridiculous comment I've heard on Survivor. Who said it? You'll know better than me. Somebody said, well, Cliff's going to win every challenge once we get to the merge. Are you kidding me? That's impossible. Nobody has ever won every single challenge.
Exactly.
People just do all strength challenges.
And there's such a variety,
And Cliff's 6'10", he needs 4,000 calories a day just to completely keep himself from wasting away.
Well, he said today the hardest part for him in his time out there was dealing with the dehydration. That was the hardest thing on him. So if he would have lasted even longer, he's going to get weaker and weaker.
Yeah. So I just think it's foolish for people to start saying, oh, well, once this guy, gets the merge, he's going to win challenges, and so we need to get off a strong competitor now. Like the Brains tried self-destructing, their early votes were ridiculous.
All right, we're back with part 2 with Coach Wade. Let's talk a little bit about, we've talked a lot about Jeremiah and Alexis and the Brains people. Let's switch over to the other tribe a little bit. Let's talk about this newfound alliance between LJ and Trish, both being from Massachusetts. Do you put a lot of credence into that when you're out there playing? Do you kind of connect with people from the same area you're from, or maybe the same job profession? Can that work?
You're desperate for anything.
Yeah.
You're desperate for anything to bond with somebody, to feel, secure. And so if you tell yourself enough times, Tony's a cop, I'm a cop, we're blue blood through and through, and you lie that to yourself so many times, and it gives you that safety level. It's the same reason why I preach so much with Brandon, because we have that in common. You know, if I'm in a room full of soccer coaches, I'm going to talk soccer. If I'm in a room full of symphony people, I'm going to talk symphony. You know, if I'm out there on Survivor and somebody likes symphony, I'm going to talk about symphony. If somebody talks about religion, I'm going to say, yeah, absolutely, I'm a Christian, and we have that in common. So
right.
you're really desperate to find that bond between people. It was really funny, you know, because, of course, LJ wants anything. He wants anything.
He was desperate. Yeah, he needed something. And it was sort of like it.
And he got something.
Yeah, and it's sort of like it just sort of came to him, you know.
Yep.
There's been a lot of talk on social media. I know Trish as being a very, very friendly, personable lady. But there's been a lot of talk that, you know, this is kind of like the old cougar thing. You know, she saw LJ from her area, and she just took a liking to him.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with a little flirting on Survivor. I mean, geez, give the lady a break. Everybody was just crucifying her and, you know, smack talking about her behind her back. I just kind of felt sorry for her, actually, because it's like, you know, she's out there. You could see the twinkle in her eye. That's great. You know, I mean,
yeah, she got excited.
Every guy does it, right? Every single guy out there. Even
of course
Jeremiah,
they do.
And even LJ at the beginning was.
And the young hot females do it.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, he was like saying Alexis is cute, and you know, but the other one's not. Jeffra's not, and or don't trust her with Morgan or whatever. So don't trust the one that's really, really beautiful. But anyway, all the guys do it. All the fans do it. I mean, how many times have I gotten maligned because, well, coach is always voting off the cute ones. You know, vote off Michaela.
Yeah, you're never going to live down the Sierra incident. You're never.
I know that.
You know, and I'm never going to let you live that down because I like Sierra.
Right.
But anyway, back to something funny that Trish said today on social network. She was talking about how she maneuvered Tony into that alliance. She said, "I love that Tony called me bipolar and schizophrenic, and then went along with my plan. It just goes to show you should always listen to us off-balanced ones. You got to make the numbers work for you." And that does get back to what we talked about earlier. Tony did get on board with that, and if you're looking at it, you got to figure LJ's in the number 1 spot, Jeffers in the number 2 spot, Trish is in the number 3 spot, and then Tony, but it may make the merge, so it may have been smart for Tony.
That's right.
I mean, isn't that all you're trying to do right now? You're trying to get to the merge.
That's right. You're trying to get to the merge. You're trying to set yourself up for the end game, but in playing too hard or maybe too blind, you've got to remember that basic Survivor. Get to the merge with numbers and a good inner core.
Yeah, and that came out at Tribal Council last night. One of the players said, "This is a game of numbers." And that's pretty basic, Yep. Well, did you watch real close at the end of the show at the promo for next week?
Yes.
Did you see Jeff show up at camp?
No, I did not see that.
You didn't see that?
No, what?
Jeff showed up at camp.
Wait, is this a promo that was on prime time or on?
Yeah, it was on CBS. I tweeted out a picture of it. Jeff sitting at camp talking to Lindsay, asking Lindsay, "What's up?"
Really?
Yep.
You sly dog, man. I didn't see that.
So, what the heck happened? Jeff, when Jeff shows up at camp, it's not good.
Nope, it's not at all.
So, Lindsay, we've had players quit before that you would have never thought would have quit. Some strong players. And I racked my brain last night, and for the life of me, I cannot see Lindsay quitting.
No, right.
So what the heck is
maybe an injury?
What the heck is Jeff doing there? Did you think and another thing that came out today in some of Jeff's interviews, he's been pimping a Survivor first for next week. Do you think maybe Lindsay just slapped the hell out of Trish?
You know what, man? I mean, you never know, dude. That's crazy. Maybe.
I mean, those two do not like each other, and Lindsay strikes me as the type to where if she gets enough, she may do something. So, I mean, I just
so
can't.
I wonder if that's what happened. Man.
I cannot.
When you're out there,
I cannot picture Lindsay
quitting.
quitting.
Your mind all the time.
Yeah.
But you just don't act on it because you're going to have to be.
Exactly. I mean, there's been players before that so many players would have loved to have punched, and they just know they can't do that or they're gone.
Yes, exactly.
So, what do you, if something happened like that, do you think they might let it slide? Do you think, I mean, this is all hypothetical, and I know it's probably not going to happen, but let's just say Lindsay got enough of it, and she reached out and she just popped Trish. Do you think maybe Jeff would come in and try to smooth it over and say, Trish, do you really want to have to make her leave like this?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. I think that, first of all, it would depend on who instigated it. It kind of be like a court of law, right? Who instigated it? Was it just, Lindsay just out of the blue just socked somebody or what? And if that's the case, then they would go to Trish and say, okay, do you want her out of the game? And, of course, she should say yes. You can get one number further in the game. It doesn't
exactly.
Matter.
That's a smart thing to do.
If it were a together tussle,
so
where two people kind of started it, and you couldn't really tell who started it, then maybe. But I got to tell you that they would definitely talk. The producers would talk, and they would make sure that they set a precedent for the future. Because
right.
If they let it slide, and even if they said, "Oh well, do you want her gone?" I actually, now that we're talking about it, I don't think that would happen because they have to be so, worried about that precedent that they're going to set for the future.
Yeah. Well, it's
good. People slapping people out there because everybody wants to.
It's going to be interesting because you just don't. I mean, usually when Jeff shows up, somebody's either really sick, but there wasn't any doctor in the clip or anything. It was just Jeff sitting talking with Lindsay, and it was at night, and it either looks like she's ready to check out, which is hard for me to believe, or something else happened. So,
you're such a SWAT dog. I'm glad you turned me on to this. I think probably, if you wouldn't mind after this, if you send me that link.
Oh, I will. I'll send you the picture.
I want to see that now. But I think that they probably get into almost a cat fight, and Jeff comes, and there's probably some pushing, some shoving, name calling, hair pulling, all that kind of stuff. But I really think that in the end, nobody's going to go home because of it.
Yeah. Well, the other side of it is normally these episodes are like a 3-day cycle, so it could have happened right after they got back to camp and Cliff got voted out, and one thing led to another, and Jeff shows up, and I mean, worst case scenario, Lindsay may leave, and we may still have another boot next week on top of it.
Yeah, right.
So, I know there's no love lost between her and Trish.
Interesting times are afloat, my friend.
What do you think about the guts and the nerves of steel that LJ exhibited last night in not playing his idol? Could you have sat there with a vote of 4-3 and held your idol?
Definitely not. I think the point that did it for him was when Tony said the game basically is going to change.
Yeah.
And different alliances are going to be drawn after this. And when he said that, one of the funniest parts of the show was watching Cliff's expressions and having them pan in on him during tribal council.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. And when Tony said that, the look on his face, it was like, oh, man, what's going on here?
Right. Cliff saw it slipping away.
I think that might have been the turning point, and he might have been thinking, I'm going to play my idol. He must have had some pretty strong assurances. Would I have done it?
Woo.
I would not have done it.
Boy, that's dangerous.
I would not have done that. That's just too risky. And really, when you look at people that are blindsided and they go home, I'm sure, and I haven't, I haven't really thought this because I've made it to the jury every time. But I mean, if you leave, especially pre-jury, don't you just say to yourself, if I would have gotten one more round, if I would have gotten one more chance. And I hear a lot of survivors that, you know, got voted off early, and they just are like, if I could only do it again.
Right.
I could just have one more chance. And so, you know, you don't really, you know, if you're out there, anything can happen. If you have an idol and you think your life's in jeopardy, how many people have gone out with an idol in their pocket?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I see that. I've seen it on the show. I've seen it in our Survivor Whispers games. I couldn't tell you how many people end up leaving with an idol in their pocket, and all they had to do was play it. That's all they had to do.
That's right. Yep, that's right.
You know? And the thing now with idols is you've got LJ and Tony in the same alliance, and they both have the idols.
Yeah, yep.
That if they would ever decide to just team up and go final two, they could be very dangerous. But with the two alpha male personalities, I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, I don't see it happening, and I see LJ maybe sharing with Tony. He's got an idol, and I think that if LJ played an idol to save Tony, Tony would not play an idol to save Tony.
No, I don't think. I think part of Tony's having fun. I mean, you know, a lot of people are sort of turning against him because he told some lies and this and that. But the thing is, Tony's entertaining, and he's playing hard, and he's having fun.
Yep,
doing it. You know, so if you had to look down the road right now, give me 2 or 3 names that you think fans should watch as far as having a good shot to get to the end.
Like I said, I'd love to say Tony, but I think he's done too much too soon. I like, a random name, Jeffra. I think she's just because she's just so under the radar.
Yeah.
I think she's got a good chance to get to the end. I mean, I don't think that she would win, but
I agree.
I see, LJ obviously as being somebody that could be very
and the thing
be very likable.
Thing about him, if he gets there, he should have a very good resume.
Yep.
You know?
He should.
Do you think Spencer or anybody from the Brains you think they can get there?
Maybe, I don't know, Spencer. I mean, I said Spencer, in a different interview. I like what he brings to the table. I think he got a really bad start, but he might do something. It's a long shot, though. Yeah.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit about what's going on with you right now in your life. I mean, you had the wedding. You're a dad now. You got a baby on the way. What's going on?
I think that for me, I'm going to be super dad. I got a little baby girl coming out in May 22nd, and that's going to be awesome. I think that life being a dad and a husband is just awesome. I just love it, man. I've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was waiting for it, but I've been waiting for it my whole life. Man.
Right.
So cool.
You gonna change diapers?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, you got to change diapers. You have to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, listen, that's about all we got for this week, except for going out in the backyard and throwing some grills on this. Some steaks on the grill. I mean, I know you could eat a big old juicy steak, couldn't you?
I got 3 ribeyes I'm cooking tonight, actually.
All right. Sounds good to me. We'll be right over.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Coach, for coming on. We'll probably get back together maybe toward the end of the season and see if our thoughts have come to fruition or if we were pretty stupid about this season.
Sounds good, man. I look forward to it.
All right. I'll send you some info on the picture and the link and everything.
Awesome. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.